Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guide. This is episode number 9 of the Unreal Engine for Beginner series, and in today's video we are going to get forward developing our game. So if you remember, in the previous video we have got it to a point where our enemy, when sees us, it starts chasing us, and if it reaches us then our health starts decreasing if it actually attacks us. But currently obviously we have got no way of actually fighting the enemy back. We cannot do anything to hurt him, but he can hurt us. It's kind of unfair. So now we are going to try to implement a system that allows us as players to attack the enemy as well. So how are we going to exactly do that? Well, it's nothing too difficult. So what we are going to do is, first of all, before actually starting the attack thing, I'm going to make a small difference in the way our enemy works. So I'm going to go to edit enemy here, and one problem is that if I try to go ahead and for example, the enemy is coming towards me, I try to jump over him, then if he even reaches me for a split second, I do get the damage. But it shouldn't really happen. So what we are going to do is, it's kind of unfair. So what we are going to do is we are going to take this apply damage node, and I'm going to take this delay and put it before the apply damage. Now what this will basically do is it will make it so that yeah, that's better. So what this will basically do is that, I just leave that. Okay, so what it will basically do is that first we will delay for 0.25 seconds, then we will start the actual attacking. So yeah, this is going to be a bit better. So let's see. Now if if it touches me for a really split second, then I won't get any damage, if it's really small. So I passed him, but he did not do me any damage because I just passed him, did not actually stayed for him for too long. So that would be a bit better. I'm also going to change the delay to 0.35 instead of 0.25, actually 0.4. 0.4. 0.4, come on. Okay, so that works. Now with that we have got functioning. Now we should start actually building the attack system for our player. So for starters, what we are going to begin with is we are going to begin by creating an actual system for our enemy to take damage. So I'm going to open up the enemy blueprint, and I'm also going to go under my blueprints and then open up the player blueprint here as well. So we have got two blueprints here, and what we are going to do is we are actually going to take this. So we are going to basically copy this system that we have got for the player into our enemy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under enemy, and I'm going to add a event any damage, and I'm going to add that event here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically copy this. You can copy stuff over, but it will cause a bit of problem with variables. So just create a new variable here, call it health, and just let it compile it, and then go ahead and change it to a float, compile again, and then drag it in here, get health. So we are going to take this health, and then we are going to go ahead and say minus, yeah, we are going to say this. So we are going to take the health and subtract the damage from it. Then we are going to go ahead and put our health here, and then we are going to set our health is equal to this. And not really just this, we are going to also go ahead and hit clamp float, and we are going to clamp it between 0 and 100. So yeah, that's awesome. So that looks fine, and we are clamping it between 0 and 100, and then we are setting our health to that, and then we are going to go ahead and say print string, and then for the string we are going to just go ahead and actually make it a little different. So in order to actually make a string, you can use a build string node, and you can go ahead and choose this float type here. And what this basically does is it basically allows you to kind of make a string using a float. So for the float we are going to put our health, and for the append to variable we are going to say enemy health, and then this will basically make it enemy health, and in front of that it will add float, and then maybe you can go ahead and add a % after it as well. So yeah, that should look awesome. But currently our enemy is not actually getting any damage, and in the player we actually need to deal damage to the enemy. So for in here what we are going to do is we are going to go under edit and then project settings and let it open up, and then in here we are going to go under input, and in here in the action mappings I'm going to add a new one called attack. Now for this I'm going to make it two keys. One is going to be just the left mouse button. You can just click with your mouse and it should automatically select it, and the other one is going to be like some other key like enter, I guess. So basically these two will attack, and if we here we are going to go ahead and get that attack input event here. And when this event is pressed, we want to actually attack the enemy. And how are we going to do that? Well, that's up left for us to figure out now. Right, so in order to do that, what I have got the idea is that we basically should have kind of like a gun system in which you kind of shoot the enemy. That's the idea that I'm going for, and in order to do that, we need to figure out how to fire a gun in Unreal Engine basically. So now in order to do that, we need to understand the basic structure of how like shooting is supposed to work in general. So the basic idea is that we will use a technique called raycasting. Now what is raycasting? Well, the idea is basically that we have got like a just a what do you call it, basically you cast an invisible ray or line from the center of the player to whatever length you want your gun's range to be. You basically cast a line along that, and that line basically, that's an invisible detection line only that detects basically whether there is something standing in that path. And in case there is, what does it do? Well, we basically just go ahead and register that that enemy was shot by us. So yeah, it's really simple, as simple as that. And basically the technique we need to use is raycasting in order to find out this shooting mechanism, and that's exactly what we are going to do now. Now, in order to do raycasting in Unreal Engine, you actually don't have to do anything complicated at all. It's extremely simple. All you need to go is you go under this attack button and you take this out, and you can just use a function called line trace. So you need to go ahead and just, you've got a different types of line trace by whatever you can choose basically, and you should just choose line trace by channel. So choose line trace by channel, and this is basically a large function that has got a lot of things in here. So basically this idea is that we have got a bunch of stuff. So we have got this trace complex, which you don't need to worry about. We have got a trace channel here, a actors to ignore, etc, etc, etc. You do not need to worry about that. All you need to do is you need to provide it with a starting position for the line and an ending position for the line. How are we supposed to do that? Well, for the starting position, we will just take this out, and we will say get camera. So if I go ahead and you can see we have got this get world location for our camera, and that would basically give us the location of our camera in the actual world. That gives us a location of our camera, and now we need to provide it with the end. So for the end, we just want it to like go a little bit forward in order to to the actual from the actual position. We just want to go a little bit forward. So how are we supposed to do that? Well, you are supposed to go back and you are supposed to go ahead and say plus. And you are supposed to do a vector plus vector here. This basically allows you to add a vector to another vector. You want to take the result and plug that into AND. And for this vector, the other vector, all you need to do is you need to actually take this get world location, and you don't need to do that. You need to get this camera. You need to get the forward vector of the camera. So basically the forward direction of the camera, you need to multiply this direction by a float which will represent the range. So I'm going to set it to like 300 for now, and then you need to do this. And basically that basically completes our recipe for creating, and you need to plug this up into AND. Now how this is working? Well, for the starting position, we provided with the location of the camera, and since we are providing it with the location of the camera, it will be in the absolute center, which means that we will get a trace at the exact center of our screen. And as far as the end point is concerned, so what we are basically doing is we are getting the forward vector of the camera, which is basically like this direction that the camera is pointing. So basically it gives us this arrow, but that has got a unit size of 1. So what we do is that we basically go ahead and multiply this by a value like 300, which makes it like 300 units long. Whatever the forward vector is, it makes this red arrow like 300 meters long, which allows us to have a larger range, or else we will just be able to attack anything that is like 1 unit within our player. So this gives us like 300 units long, and then we add that to the world location to shift it from the center of the world to the actual camera position, which makes it a extremely straight line in the direction of the camera. So yeah, this is a bit of a vector math and nothing too complex. And all you need to do for testing is you can go ahead and this draw debug type, and you can make it like persistent. And what basically should happen is that now if you go ahead and hit play, and if I like hit plus, you can see I get this red line here. Now what this line is, this line basically represents our recast, and you can see at 300 units it is extremely thin. Now I want to know if I can actually make this recast a bit thicker. It's a little hard to see. No, I can't. Okay, that's no problem. But if I like shoot and then I go ahead, I am pressing my enter key or left mouse button, you can see we get this red line which represents our recast, but it's extremely short even at 300 units. So we want to, it's not like exactly 300 units, so you want to change it to something like let's say 1200 units, 1200, and this gives us a much longer line, and we do not want this line to be extremely long, or else we will be having like an extreme advantage over the enemy. I think this long is quite enough, and yeah, you can see my lines pass straight through the enemy, and this line is green. Now let me just show you something special. So if I go ahead and like I shoot like through the enemy, then you can see that this red point basically registers the point where we hit the enemy, and this green line represents our line raycast after we have hit. So our raycast system is working. Now all we need to do is we need to damage the thing that we actually hit. So you can see this is working. So how are we going to damage that? Now we need to figure that out. It's actually really simple. What you need to do is you can basically go ahead and add in an if node after this, and basically you can see we have got a return value and an out hit here. Now this return value basically represents whether we actually hit anything or not, and if we did not hit anything, we don't want to do anything at all, and if we did hit anything, then what we want to do is we basically want to attack that thing. So this out hit is something called a structure. A structure is basically a variable that has got a lot of other variables inside of it. You basically need to right click on it and hit split struct pin. If you do that, you should get all of the individual variables that make up this structure, and in here we have got one called out hit actor. Now you basically need to take this hit actor, which represents the actor that we actually hit, and you need to drag it out, and you can do a check using saying is valid. Is valid basically, and by the way, you need to choose not the function but instead this macro. And what you need to make sure is that we have actually hit anything that is correct in the scene right now before we actually go ahead and do anything else. And if that is the case, if it is valid, then we want to go ahead and say we can do a bunch of different stuff for testing. Let's go ahead and say destroy actor. This function and for the actor, just drag in this hit object by doing this like this. Now what this basically does is that it basically makes it so that it destroys, basically gets that actor out of the scene. And now if I hit this floor, then the floor disappears, and if I hit the enemy disappears. You can see this line here at the point that it hit the enemy. So that's working. Now all we need to do now is we need to go ahead in the enemy, and we need to say like just damage, apply damage. Now for this you need to take this and plug this in the damage actor, and for the damage you can set whatever damage you have got, like 10, and this should basically get it done. So now if I go ahead and hit this enemy, you can see it up there in the print string it says enemy damage, enemy health is 0% now. Now I'm going to go under the enemy, I'm going to select this health and make it 100 by default. And now if I hit play, you can see it first time I hit it, it says 90%, then 80%, then 70%, then 60%, and so on. It keeps decreasing 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and yeah, the enemy is kind of dead, I guess, except it's not really, because we haven't implemented a death system yet. But you can see this idea is basically working. So yeah, this was pretty much it for this video. In the next video we will make the enemy actually like disappear when it gets hit. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with other people who want to learn Unreal Engine, and bye.